The symbol of peace, All Might, and the king of curses, Ryomen Sukuna, are two of the most well-known Newgen characters, and both are regarded as the strongest in their own verse. Whether that is true or not is a debate for another video, but in a fight, All Might would absolutely demolish Sukuna. Before I start, I would like to mention that I'm using current Sukuna, which means All Might can touch and, kill Sukuna without needing cursed energy, as Sukuna is still in a human body. I'm doing this because a fight where one opponent can't see or kill the other is really boring and pointless. When it comes to Sukuna scaling and JJK scaling in general, there are two different ways we can realistically scale them. The first way is by using a directly calcable feat, this being the earthquake Gojo caused upon being released from the prison realm. Gojo was trapped in the Japanese trench, and the earthquake was felt by Yuji and the others all the way in Saitama Prefecture. We don't know a lot about the magnitude of the earthquake, but seeing as the shaking was somewhat strong, a magnitude 4 earthquake should be more than fair. Depending on where Gojo was in the trench, the magnitude at the epicenter would change by a lot, but I'll assume he was quite far away at around 526 kilometers. With this, we can easily calculate the magnitude of the earthquake at the epicenter. First, we need the distance in miles, which would be 326 miles. Then we divide that by 5.7 to find delta t. In this case, delta t would be 57.19. Then we need to find the amplitude of the earthquake in millimeters, which would be 550 mm. Now that we have that, we can put delta t into this formula and amplitude into this formula to find x. Now we can put those two values into this formula to find the magnitude at the epicenter, which gives us a magnitude of 7.9. Using this calculator, we can then convert that into joules, which comes out to 4.49 times 10 to the power of 16 joules, which is city level. The other and less reliable way of finding the strength of these characters is by using Dagon's domain expansion. This domain takes the form of a tropical island surrounded by an ocean. Now, the reason for why this is not reliable is because we have no idea how big this island is. Simply being an island is not enough to be island level, and when you actually calculate it by weight, which I did, it's only around large town level. But if we highball it, I guess we could scale Sukuna to island levels of power. And no, using Yuki's black hole as a form of scaling is not valid because no one scales to it, because she had to kill herself to do it. As for speed, there are two main ways of scaling him. For the low end, we know that 15-finger Sukuna was able to keep up with Maki, the same Maki who scaled to Cursed Naoya, who had a Mach 53 feet. With full power Sukuna being much faster than this, it's fair to say that he scales to the Mach 100 plus ranges of speed, or massively hypersonic. The other way of finding his speed is by using Kashimo's electromagnetic waves. While it's unclear what the waves are exactly, by which I mean which attack is actually electromagnetic waves, we can say that these beams that he shoots are the waves. Electromagnetic waves is just electromagnetic radiation, which is just light, and so they would be moving at the speed of light. The problem with scaling Sukuna to these is that he never really dodges them. The first time we see it, Sukuna could have been aim dodging, as he saw the attack charging up before it was fired. But the second time would prove that he can at least react at the speed of light, as he was able to perform a chant while the laser was coming at him. And if you want to get really technical, then we could calculate this to find how fast his mouth would be moving. Sukuna has two mouths in this form, which means the total amount of words, which is 9, would be cut in half, so we said 4.5 words in this time frame. The mouth can open by about 5 centimeters, so that gives us a distance of 24.75 centimeters. The distance between Sukuna and the beam is around 5 meters, so that gives us a time frame of 2.3 times 10 to the power of -8 seconds. To move 24.75 centimeters in that time frame gives us a speed of 10,700,000 meters per second, or around 3.5% the speed of light, or subrelativistic. Seeing as this is just him talking, I would have no problem with saying his attacks could reach the subrelativistic plus levels of speed. And I also don't have a problem with scaling him to relativistic plus to possibly to low FTL levels of speed from potentially dodging the electromagnetic waves at point blank range. Because any way you look at it, he's just nowhere close to All Might. And I'm not talking Prime All Might here, I'm talking weak All Might. For AP, we know All Might would scale to both the Intercontinental Cruise Missile Explosion and the Deku and Bakugo's final Detroit Smash. The missile explosion made a massive hole in the clouds, which I calculated at Continental, and the final Detroit Smash did a similar thing, which I calculated at Multi-Continental. And even if we ignore that for whatever reason, All Might is still able to bring in a thunderstorm from beyond the horizon which comes out at small country level, and he was heavily weakened and most likely holding back as he didn't want to accidentally hurt Bakugo. We also know the massive destruction he causes when actually punching with everything he's got, so it's safe to say he wasn't even close to his full power here. And even using less powerful feats, Stars and Stripes' Cloud Giant can perform large island level feats, and Deku and Shigaraki can perform island level shockwaves in the final war. So even extremely low-balled, weak All Might is still stronger than Sukuna high-balled. And the same thing applies for speed. Armored All Might was able to move at 20% the speed of light, and this suit was not only injured, but it had also lost an entire jet booster, and a weak All Might is far superior to this armor. We also have stuff like Deku won at 20% in the third movie, dodging lasers, which comes out at around 65% the speed of light, and so at 100% the speed would be 3.25 times faster than light, which would scale to All Might. And during the Vigilante arc, Deku directly compares his 100% power and speed to All Might, and this Deku could move at 5.5 times faster than the speed of light when blitzing Lady Naga's bullet, which is actually consistent with Kon, who is at best equal to 20% Deku, having a feat where he moves 1.2 times faster than the speed of light, making 100% Deku 6 times faster than light, and Hawks, while literally dying, being able to move at 1.2 times the speed of light as well, when saving Tokoyami from a laser, which means All Might would consistently be in these 5 to 6 times faster than light ranges, with him potentially being much faster if we're using, for example, faster speeds for Lady Naga's bullets. For abilities, Sukuna has low mid regen, as he can regenerate limbs and organs, and he also has type 3 immortality through his regeneration, plus he can live without vital organs. Sukuna also has two types of normal slashing attacks. These are Dismantle and Cleave. Dismantle works as a regular slashing attack, and Cleave adjusts itself to the opponent's cursed energy level, but this does not mean its durability negation. Sukuna can also shoot arrows made of fire to cause massive explosions, and he can also cut through space itself by performing a chant. Finally, he can use his regular cutting attacks in an area of effect type attack with his domain expansion, which destroys everything within a 200-meter radius. All Might can punch really hard. Yeah, he doesn't really have any special abilities, since he can't use the other quirks in One for All, but regardless of that, All Might absolutely destroys Sukuna. All of his abilities except for the spatial cut are irrelevant, since they wouldn't be able to do anything to All Might, so his only shot at winning is by landing the spatial cut, which would be extremely hard when at your fastest possible speed, your opponent is still 5 to 6 times faster than you, and Sukuna's regeneration is useless because his entire body would just be vaporized from a single punch. All Might is far stronger than Gigantomachia, and he vaporized a mountain. If he can vaporize a mountain, he can vaporize Sukuna, and Sukuna simply just doesn't stand a chance. And if we use Prime All Might, the fight would be over in a nanosecond. The truth is that the MHA verse and the JJK verse are just on two completely different levels when it comes to power, and the only reason All Might, or really any other high or top tier, just doesn't fart on the verse is because of Gojo's Infinity and Mahito's Immortality. Other than that, All Might would absolutely stomp pretty much anyone in JJK.